Hi guys, welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to be talking about a project that I've been working on, Reconstructing History's 1860s to 1870s men's shirt project. I picked up this project a while ago and I was really excited about it because it hit a lot of the things that I was looking for. It's a men's shirt and it's cut for a flat chest, which is something that I'm going to be getting pretty soon and I'm really excited about it. And it has closures around the back, which means that the front bib you can do whatever you want with. And it had these like really lovely poofy sleeves, which I was really excited about too. So everything about this project was great. I was super stoked. And then I started it. So as you can tell, I did actually get to a point where a mock-up was successful, but it did take me a little bit to get there and it was a journey. So that's what this video is. So I made this pattern to be a size 42 by the size chart provided in the pattern to accommodate my hips, which are a little bit wider than typical dudes. I figured, no big deal, I'll just take in any chest waist area that doesn't quite match up and it'll be fine. Better to be a little bit large than too small and have to add. Adding is not as fun, as I've discovered on the frock coat that I'm working on, which is not yet filmed. So yeah, I went with a slightly larger size, and as I was unfolding the pattern and taking a look at it, I did think to myself, gee, this is kind of big. But it was all big, no matter which size I chose. Even if I'd gone for the smallest size in the pattern book, it would have been really, really large. So I figured I'm not an expert advanced sewer. Maybe there's just something I don't know here and it'll be fine. That's what mock-ups are for anyway. And I went ahead. My first mock-up was made out of this polyester sheet. I loathe this sheet. It is the bane of my existence. You've not really felt pain until you try to pleat a polyester sheet where if you iron it too much, you risk melting it. I don't like this sheet. But somehow I survived. And as you can see here, I got to the point where I made essentially a mock-up of the pattern as provided in the pattern book. And it's a dress. The pattern makes the front of the shirt so long that it is in fact 4 inches below my knee. It is no joke a dress. And the back is the same length. It's not like I cut something wrong. They're both cut to the pattern and they're both incredibly long. And the same issue is on the sides. The sides have like 5 inches of extra room on either side. And this is, according to the pattern, cut for a 35-inch waist, which is, not small, but not that large either. So I cut everything down. I did it again on the polyester sheet. I just sort of essentially draped it to make it look like what I thought the picture indicated it should look like. The drawing provided with the pattern. And eventually I just decided to hell with the sheet. I needed to make a completely different mock-up again based on my thoughts on how this should look. So that's what this is behind me. This is mock-up number 2, and I used actual muslin instead of polyester sheet from the thrift store. And that was worth it, let me tell you. Muslin is not particularly expensive, but I had held off on using the muslin that I had because I only had 5 yards, and although it's not expensive, the shipping time is really kind of what's slowing me down here. Thanks to living in the time of Corona, we don't have the ability to like rock up to somewhere and just touch everything and get stuff, so we have to wait for shipping. But I sucked it up. I used the muslin that I had and it was so much easier to work with. I was able to pleat with my iron and everything was great. So this mock-up turned out a lot better. There's a lot of things that I was able to completely resolve and get working. The sleeves work pretty great. They're a little wide in the shoulders, but I'm kind of okay with that. It gives kind of a droopy look, which can be nice. If I want a more tailored look, it's pretty easy to raise those up a couple inches. Things were working pretty good, except for something really disappointing, which was on the back of the shirt there's meant to be this yoke. And the yoke is a really nice design element. It's where a couple of buttons sit, and I was really excited about it. The yoke on the actual pattern provided is minuscule. You couldn't fit 2 buttons on there if you tried. So I'm going to be changing that on the final one. There are plenty of things in the mock-up that I had pretty lazy construction methods on just because it's a mock-up. It's meant to be a test, not necessarily the final finished product. So I was okay with taking a couple of shortcuts here and there. But I did want to also make sure that I was well enough versed in the techniques that when it came to doing the final, I would be confident. And so I did practice some things here and there. So all in all, I did manage to get to the end, and I do have a mock-up that I like. I like a lot of the features on here, and I think it will be functional as a pattern to use for a final shirt elsewhere. And there's a lot of things that I'm still really excited about it. There are a lot of things that still need to change, but it's a successful mock-up, and that is why mock-ups exist. And there are a lot of things that I learned throughout this process too. The primary thing being that patterns are not always right. Sometimes you get lemons, like this one, which apparently just is not really made for a human body. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if there was a issue with some sort of metric to imperial conversion. I don't know if there was like a scaling issue with some printer. I have no idea. But the result is that the pattern is not what it says it is, and I basically had to drape to make the shirt. I mean, trust the pattern. The pattern exists and is written for a reason, but everyone makes mistakes, and sometimes there are mistakes in printed word. Another thing that I spent a long time sort of puzzling over and digging my teeth into with this project was learning how to read less than clear construction notes. Overall, this provided relatively good construction notes. It kind of gave you a good piecing order and suggested different stitches and everything. But there were a few things where if you didn't think things through and read through the instructions really carefully the first time, you would be sort of caught off guard when you actually went to put it all together. There, on this bib, for example, there's a note at the end which says, bind the edges, which is great. I think it looks really nice with bound edges, although I didn't put them on very well because it's a mock-up and that's fine. But if you hadn't read that ahead of time, then you would have gotten to the end and made a very different looking bib. Because I knew it said bind edges at the end, that meant that I wasn't supposed to sew it right sides to right sides and then flip. I was supposed to sew it so it had a raw edge to be bound. And that was one of those things where it really validated the need to really read through things carefully. Which is not normally how I roll. I am a person who does not normally read instruction manuals, so this is a learning journey for us all. I also became much more confident in making pleats and gathering, which is good because a lot of the styles that I'm really interested in working with have an abundance of pleats and gathering. An abundance! And finally, and most importantly, I learned that I hate polyester bed sheets and I will never make a mock-up with them again. Make sure you take time out of your important sewing schedule to play with your cats. If you don't, they will eat your fabric. So this has been a wild ride, but now that we're here, I have a great working mock-up that I am excited to put forth and use as a design basis for further garments. Now that I have this, I can start to look at and think about the shirts that I want to be making based off of this pattern and how I want to go about making them something that I really want to wear, something that's going to fit me, not just like physically fit me, but also like emotionally fit me, right? I want to wear things that make me happy. And I think this is step one. I am excited to look at and think of ways to make this vivacious and fun and still something that can be worn in public. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. I'm actually going to make a completely dedicated video for that. So please stay tuned if you want to see kind of how some of my design process goes and some of the things that I'm thinking about for this particular shirt design. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Be queer, make stuff. I'll see you next time.